Welcome to the National Catholic College Admission Association and Jesuit Education Tour Virtual College Fair. We're so excited to have you participating in this event. We have some fantastic schools here with us today. My name is Danielle, and I will be your facilitator. Before we get started, I want to share a few housekeeping items. Your camera and microphone are off, so the presenters cannot see or hear you. You can use the Q&A button to ask questions at any time throughout the presentation. This is just one of many different sessions that are happening, so be sure to check out the website for more. The presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/NCCAA. I'd now like to turn it over for our panel presentation of why go to a Catholic college.
Thank you, Danielle. Welcome to the presentation this evening on why to consider a Catholic college for your higher education. Happy to see that we do have some attendees here. And so at the outset, we want to encourage you to please ask questions using the Q&A box because we're here ultimately to help you understand the world of Catholic higher education and how it can benefit you in the college search process. My name is Jim Fowler. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment Management at Salve Regina University in beautiful Newport, Rhode Island, which you can see behind me here, literally an island in Rhode Island. While Rhode Island itself is not an island, Newport is an island. And so our university is located picturesquely right on the Atlantic Ocean. Which with me this evening, we have Ashley Sargent from St. Anselm College in New Hampshire, Bobby Anderson from St. Francis University in Pennsylvania, and Jackie Morris from Viterbo University in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So I'm going to ask each of them to just say a quick hello, introduce themselves, and then we will move into our discussion for the evening. Ashley, you want to go first?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. As Jim said, my name is Ashley Sargent. I'm the Director of Admission Operations at St. Anselm College, which is located in Manchester, New Hampshire, about an hour north of Boston. We're a small liberal arts college and currently looks beautiful, not quite like the island, but we have a lot of leaves and foliage right now too. So another beautiful Catholic college campus. We can turn it over to Bobby.
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, we have something in common, certainly among college institutions. So why should you consider Catholic college? For one, we have beautiful campuses. St. Francis University is located on the mountaintop town of Loretto, Pennsylvania, just about an hour and a half east of Pittsburgh. So happy to be with you this evening and looking forward to a great discussion. Jackie.
Yes, hello everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Jackie Morris. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at Viterbo. Viterbo is located here in La Crosse, Wisconsin. We are a pretty vibrant college town. There's actually 3 institutions that college students attend here. We are a river town, so we're nestled in a beautiful valley with bluffs that are in beautiful full fall color right now, right along the Mississippi River. So happy to be here with you all tonight. Thanks.
Wonderful. Well, we certainly have a wonderful group to have this discussion tonight. Institutions large and small and from a variety of locations across the country, which is terrific. And as we were talking about this topic, why to choose a Catholic college, we recognize that there's oftentimes a lot of misinformation, perhaps, about what it means to be a Catholic college or who can apply or be a member of a Catholic community. And so one of the first misperceptions we wanted to address before we sort of got into real reasons to choose the institutions is, do you really have to be Catholic to consider a Catholic institution? And what are the religious requirements to attend a Catholic college? Anybody want to jump on that as we start our discussion?
I can hop in. There are no requirements necessarily to be Catholic or practicing Catholic yourself to attend a Catholic college. I think often institutions focus more on being a welcoming community because that's what it means to be Catholic, is to welcome people from all different backgrounds. So that's definitely reflected within institutions. In terms of religious requirements, it varies by school, but often there may be a requirement for students to take a course within religion. Our school is a liberal arts school. We have a core curriculum, so we do require students to take a religion course, but there's a wide range of what that might be. I think the most important thing to know is if you attend a Catholic college and you want to get involved in the Catholic activities on campus or mass or really exploring your faith, that's great. It's available. If you're not Catholic and that doesn't really interest you, I think there's a lot of other ways to still be involved and very much a part of the community on campus.
Yeah, Ashley, I think you really hit the nail on the head that the nice thing about Catholic institutions is we tend to be very welcoming environments, welcoming people of all faiths and all backgrounds. We are inclusive by our nature. And so for someone that's looking for a Catholic environment, you're going to find that obviously on our campuses. But for someone that is looking for more of a welcoming community type environment, but maybe not interested in having a Catholic or religious experience, you're going to find that on many of our campuses too. Bobby, maybe I'll ask you this sort of next question is, speaking about sort of the environment and the culture of the campus, how present is the Catholic identity on a Catholic college campus, and will a non-Catholic find a welcoming community?
Great question, Jim. Yeah, and I think probably speaking for most Catholic institutions out there, you're going to find because of the definition of Catholic means universal and all embracing. So you're going to have many Catholic environments that are going to be Catholic by choice. So, there's going to be varying degrees depending on, for our Catholic families, how traditional or Orthodox has there been their upbringing, and may have opportunities to engage in those types of activities, and kind of across the spectrum to even interdenominational, non-denominational types of services, all Christian fellowship, praise and worship. So you're going to see a little bit of everything. That's kind of the nice thing about a Catholic institution is you're generally going to find what is suitable for you and what are you and your family, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever your upbringing was. It's just really about engaging the campus ministry staffs, talking a little bit about what you're interested in, or as Ashley had said about before, deepening your faith, exploring your faith, maybe discovering faith. And there again, that's one of the distinctions of a Catholic education is that's a big part of our very fabric and our foundation is to make these things available. We all consider, the human experience to be mind, body, and spirit equally. So we want to make sure that the spiritual aspects of your experience are alive and present every day to you as you choose.
Bobby, I think that's such a great point that sometimes people look at Catholic and that Catholic moniker on an institution and say, well, that's something that is limiting. But in actuality, it's really opening a door of opportunity to learn about different perspectives and different experiences and to be exposed to a different environment that maybe you're used to. Or if you're coming from a Catholic high school, maybe an environment where you're going to feel a sense of comfort because you've had that experience through and you're part of that community naturally. Jackie, Bobby sort of mentioned the word denomination a couple times, and that's a very, religiously oriented word, one that we in Catholic institutions are very aware of, that although Catholic is a general term for institutions, most institutions are sponsored by a denomination, and those denominations can be a little bit different in their outlook and their approach. What can you tell us about, different Catholic denominations and how that might affect the culture or the approach of a Catholic institution?
Yeah, absolutely. So for Viterbo, we're a Franciscan university. We were founded by the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. So I think that our traditions and our values are very much based in that. And so as you look between different college campuses that may identify as a Catholic university, really start looking to the tradition and history of where those campuses came from and how those missions and core values might align with your belief system, and also how it might challenge and stretch you as a human being. And that's one of the overall benefits, I would say, of going to a Catholic university. Because while I can say for myself, I'm actually not Catholic, but I did attend Viterbo for both my undergrad and master's. And I can tell you that while I'm not a Catholic I don't follow Catholic faith, I very much understand what it means to be Franciscan. So there's a lot about the Catholic identity and the values that you see from all these different denominations that are universal in nature, and which we are welcoming and allow for you to dive into your spiritual path in whichever way suits you best.
Bobby, do you want to expound on that based on your denominational affiliation?
Yeah, so I was glad to hear Franciscan mentioned. There are, I think, 23 Franciscan institutions in the U.S., of course, Viterbo being one, and St. Francis here in Loretto, we're actually the oldest of those 23, so that a little bit of a legacy that we have here. But Jackie's absolutely right. There's a particular, it's kind of like if Catholic education were ice cream, what flavor of ice cream would you choose? And so, from Franciscan to Benedictine to Holy Cross to Jesuits, we're part of the Jesuit Excellence Tour with this event tonight. So, if you're familiar with some of those denominations or those rules and orders, if you dig into a little bit more of the church history, then maybe there's a particular flavor that you prefer, or it's great to also discover some of the commonalities and also distinctions between them. But, I think one thing that you'll definitely find, and it's true of the Catholic faith, is that universal thread, the connection to, the church, the Catholic Church, and the gospel teachings and the life of Jesus Christ. And so that's the blessing that we all share together. So, whether you're visiting one Catholic campus of a particular denomination or another, you're going to also find a lot of commonalities in that we are celebrating one Christian faith together under that Catholic umbrella.
So speaking of denominational flavors, Ashley, St. Anselm is a different denomination. Can you tell us a little bit about your denominational affiliation?
Sure, yeah. St. Anselm is Benedictine, and we're actually the only one in New England, so we're kind of unique amongst colleges around us. The unique flavor for us is that we actually have Benedictine monks who live on our campus, and they take a vow of stability, so they commit to one place for their entire lives. And that certainly adds a unique flavor with monks living on campus. It's their home, which actually makes our campus feel very much like a home because they open up their home to 2,000 students each fall. One value of Benedictine institutions is hospitality. So we focus a lot on hospitality. Obviously, a lot of Catholic institutions do with community and being welcoming, but we pride ourselves on our food and some of those kind of traditions. And so I guess that's kind of how it makes us a bit unique. We also focus a lot on, the monks focus significantly on the liberal arts. That's kind of part of their background. And so it's really challenging students to the pursuit of knowledge and finding different ways of looking at different problems. And I think that's great because it allows people who are Catholic or who aren't Catholic to also pursue kind of the historical significance of their faith and figuring out different perspectives, which really just contributes to the life of our campus. So I think it's very similar to a lot of schools, but that's sort of our unique flavor.
Absolutely. And, adding to the conversation about different denominations, Salve is founded by a religious order called the Sisters of Mercy. So we do have nuns on campus, though modern nuns, very different than the vision you may have in your head. I haven't seen a nun in a habit in a very long time on campus. And the Sisters of Mercy, also one of our former presidents, like to joke, if you've met one Sister of Mercy, you've met one Sister of Mercy. They sort of all have their own ways of looking at the world, but ultimately I think one of the neat things about the Sisters of Mercy is that they're somewhat of the radicals of the Catholic Church. They're very big on what are called the critical concerns of the Sisters of Mercy, which are concerns about the earth and the environment, concerns about combating racism, nonviolence as a means for solving conflict, working for women's issues, obviously, and working for a just and sustainable world. So as you are researching Catholic colleges and universities, be sure to ask about the denomination and get to know the individual denominations of each campus, because that will inform in many ways the life and the way the curriculum is delivered. And I kind of want to expound a little bit on curricula at Catholic campuses. You know, we hear a lot when we live and work on Catholic campuses about the Catholic intellectual tradition. And I'm wondering if any of you would like to talk about what that means to be have Catholic intellectual tradition, and from the perspective of your institutions, how that Catholic intellectual tradition informs the academic life of the institution. Anybody want to take that one?
Yeah,
Bobby?
I wouldn't mind, Jim. Thank you for that. And, you know, we just recently kind of restructured our general education curriculum around some of those key points, and including our formerly known religious studies and philosophy department to now be Franciscan studies, theology, and applied ethics. So that's kind of a new twist as we look to keep our curriculum fresh and current in a modern society. I think, you know, particularly in Catholic higher education, we're really focusing on the inherent dignity of the individual person. No matter, you know, what that person, their life circumstances, their sense of identity, whatever, it is about that inherent dignity, because they're uniquely created individual made by God in his own image and likeness. So we really focus on that. And that's where you see a lot of the various Catholic traditions commit to a sense of service, you know, supporting the poor and needy. You know, so for us, certainly as our goals of Franciscan higher education that we've been using for over 30 years here at St. Francis, the respect for the uniqueness of individual persons, and then that humble and generous attitude toward learning. We always tell our students that your education at this stage is not about you. It's about the people in the world who are hurting and suffering and really need a prayer answered. And for us, in Catholic higher education, each one of our students represents an answered prayer somewhere in the world.
Jackie, anything to add?
Sure, yes. I guess another way that we've infused the Catholic identity and this and that part of it into the core curriculum at Viterbo is through our mission seminar courses. So we really start out with first year students really identifying those core values that with Viterbo, it's contemplation, hospitality, integrity, service, and stewardship. And we ask them, how do they embody this in their life now? And how do they foresee that extending into their career and their own life and their relationships, and really following the teachings of St. Francis and looking at the history of those traditions. And then as they move through their 4 years at Viterbo, they're looking at how do you serve the common good? How do you do this well without making assumptions about others? What do we need to take into account when we're making an ethical decision? What are the factors that we take into that need to be in play? How do we lead an ethical life? What is the importance of living in a diverse world? These are all the ways in which we take those Franciscan core values and immerse them in the college experience at in their core curriculum. And then we hope that extends out into what they do after graduation.
Ashley, I know that the Catholic intellectual tradition is a big component of the Benedictines. Anything that you want to add on this topic?
Sure. So we have similar, in students' first year, they're required to take a class. It's called Conversatio, and it's actually one of the Benedictine values. And it's a full year course, and the topic is, what is the good life? And so students explore ancient texts, modern novels, science, news stories. They read a wide range of materials. They discuss different opinions, ethics, science, history, all of that sort of related. And it's really the first deep dive students get into what is that intellectual tradition and what does it mean to be part of a Benedictine community. And so that sort of continues throughout their time on campus. And I think this is probably similar at other colleges, but we also offer, as part of our curriculum, students can participate in service learning opportunities. So they can actually participate in community service or outreach and engagement and earn course credit for it, or integrate it into one of their courses during their time on campus. And I think that's pretty unique to a lot of Catholic institutions that are taking what you learn in the classroom and applying it directly through service opportunities and allowing students to actually really get sort of like hands-on experience while giving back. So that's something I think to also mention about Catholic institutions as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, that when you look at universally at Catholic higher education, there's that understanding that you're not just about working for the betterment of yourself, but you're working for the betterment of others. The Jesuits have a phrase they tend to like to use as, preparing men and women for others. That it's the critical component of your educational experiences, going out into the world and working to make that world a better place. And so you see that Catholic intellectual tradition around the idea of having a broad-based understanding of the liberal arts and how the liberal arts informs your area of academic concentration, so that you can understand the world from a broad global perspective. And I think Catholic institutions do such an excellent job of providing that global perspective with an ethical foundation, because the world so badly needs graduates of higher education that have an ethical guidepost that informs how they interact with the world and has the knowledge base to go out and be active participants in society in a way that is working for positive momentum of society and not just about the commitment of the success of self. So without a doubt, all of our institutions, not just the ones represented here, but any Catholic institution you look at, is going to provide you that foundational experience for preparation. And ultimately, what we know about Catholic colleges statistically is that Catholic colleges are really successful, as evidenced through student satisfaction rates, higher graduation rates, higher starting salaries for graduates. Part of that's the Catholic intellectual tradition and how that's applied on campuses. But what else is it about Catholic higher education that leads to that type of success for graduates? Now, Jackie, you want to start?
Go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry. I was just going to say, Jim, I think it really comes down to that intentionality. There's so many great institutions across this country, but when you really look at it through the lens of the Catholic intellectual tradition, there's an intentionality that is so deep and so profound. We don't take, our students and our families for granted. We look at each one there again, as I said before, about the potential answered prayer for someone out in the world. And so we really embody that as a sense of vocation in our faculty or staff at administration, that each and every student designed uniquely with a purpose. So we put that on ourselves, and we walk with our students through their journey of self-discovery, finding their God-given gifts and talents, but also understanding its purpose to serve a world in need. So because of that very deep intentionality with everything we do, you're never alone as a student. You have a team of supporters around you, from your faculty and academic advisors to, athletics coaches to club advisors to whatever, and everybody is constantly looking at, and without being, too much in your business there, but really focusing on making sure that you are successful, not only for yourself, but certainly for the future communities that you're going to be serving. That's an intentionality that you won't necessarily find at more of your secular-based institutions.
Absolutely, Bobby. And Jim, you've touched on this quite a bit already, but I think, when we talk about students that graduate from Catholic institutions, they are very much understanding that motivation and what informs people with their spiritual lives. And so when they go into the workforce and they're working with others, they're also coming from a place where the liberal arts is also very much valued. So they are graduates that are able to connect with people well, with respect, no matter what others' backgrounds are, celebrate that within each other, and then also read well, write well, have a great amount of knowledge from a variety of areas, which allows them to move from one position to another many times and transfer from one career to another, because you're able to have those transferable skills that come from this amazing base that you get at a Catholic university.
Ashley?
I agree with everything that's been said, but I'll add, I actually have an anecdote from today. I was talking to a student and I mentioned that I was doing this presentation tonight, and she said, oh yeah, I said, about why you would choose a Catholic institution. And she's like, oh, I'm not Catholic, but I grew up in a small town, and this institution really, like St. Anselm, really appealed to me because I knew that when it was a Catholic institution, that it would mean it was a community. And I think that that's really true. And she said, church is a community, and I'm not part of this. I'm not part of that church, but I know that it's going to be a good community and I'd be supported and all those things. And that really seemed like, that was like, wow, I hadn't really had a student say that to me before. And I think that's so true. And at our institutions, I think that the faculty, staff, and other students really support each other. And it means that you get individualized attention. It means you get confidence when you're going into an interview. It means someone's helping you prepare for those things that happen down the road after graduation. There's a professor likely helping you find an internship, work on your resume, that type of thing. And I think it's because of that sort of community feel where we're kind of all in this together, and each individual success is a reflection of the community success that is really unique, I think, to Catholic institutions and these really special communities. So that's what I'll add here.
Yeah, it's such a great point, and it's so true about that community experience that students have and the commitment of faculty and staff on a Catholic campus. Everybody feels invested in that community, and so everybody is invested in the success of that community. So you'll see at events, you'll see at sporting events, everybody comes out for them. You'll see when there's, some sort of celebration on campus. We're getting ready on campus this week to have something we call Macaulay Day, which harkens back to the founder of the Sisters of Mercy, where classes sort of suspend for a little while so that students can kind of enjoy each other's company and take a breather at a point in the semester where they really need it. And I think that type of understanding of the human spirit you don't necessarily find every place else. I went to a large public institution. It certainly was not there. I had a good experience there, but I never felt as though anybody was, as an institution, was looking out for my personal interest on a daily basis. And I think you see that there. We also brushed on briefly the idea of religious studies requirements at Catholic institutions as being an important part of the curriculum. And I know I wanted to make one point that I was reminded earlier today of a conversation I had a couple of years ago with a student, similar to what Ashley was saying, where the student was saying, gee, I'm not Catholic. Why do I have to take Catholic religious studies? And I sort of equated it this way to a conversation I had with my son at one point in time, who was sort of asking, why do I have to read the Bible? Why do I have to know these things? And I pointed out that when you look at literature, when you look at history, when you look at the development of many institutions, many of them have either Catholic or Christian roots. And so understanding what the basis of all that is really informs and allows you to do the close the close introspection and the close critical look at documents and at institutions that you can't have if you don't have that context. So if you think about even, if you're in an English class and you're reading Shakespeare, if you don't understand the Bible, if you don't understand Christian history, then a lot of that is going to go right over your head because you don't have the context to understand the references that are being made. And I imagine on everybody else's campuses, there's sort of that similar approach of, it's not necessarily about learning about Catholicism as a path towards piety or towards, spiritual connection to the Catholic religion, but as much as an academic pursuit. So one of the questions that we sometimes get as Catholic institutions is about the welcomeness on our campuses to people that may have been historically marginalized in Catholicism. We think about LGBTQ groups, we think about sometimes underrepresented groups. What has your experience been on your various campuses and with Catholic education in general regarding that in the modern era? I don't know, Jackie, you want to take that one first?
Sure, you bet. This is a topic that is obviously very important, and it's something that I can talk from the lens of a student at a Catholic university as well as an employee. And I've seen that, radical hospitality is at the basis of one of our core values at Viterbo. And Viterbo has always been very openly welcoming to all students, no matter how they identify or where they come from or anything like that. And I think what we've learned as a university, especially since George Floyd and many of the things happening in our world, is that we need to go further. And I'm very, very excited about the work that's happening on this campus, and I'm imagining happening on many campuses across our country. I know we're doing a lot of work with social justice, equity, and inclusion, specifically with our LGBTQIA+ population. We have the Pride Club here, we have Breaking Barriers. I think you'll find that on any of our college campuses, that there is a space for students, and that there is part of our strategic plan to make sure that these students are celebrated and elevated and feeling heard and in all ways. So we do this in a variety of ways. We have a great student affairs program called Identities Project, where we touch upon microaggressions, implicit bias, all different kinds of important topics surrounding equity and inclusion and diversity. We have many different events. We have interfaith prayer spaces. We have, and again, I think this could go for any college campus, any Catholic college campus. There is that need and desire to maybe not always have the answers, but to want to always be better because of our Catholic identity. It is Catholic to be welcoming and open to all populations, is what I'm trying to get at in a long-winded way here.
Ashley?
I would echo what Jackie said, and I think our campus ministry director always says, like, we're Catholic, and that means we're supposed to love our neighbor, and no matter where they're from or where, like, their identity, we have to welcome them and support them and love them. So that's really the approach that I think our institution takes, and people from all different backgrounds, all different views, we welcome them on campus. And so we have different political organizations, we have so different support organizations for various identities and marginalized populations. And I think that, as Jackie said, you'll find that. And I mean, we have monks that reflect those same values, and they'll talk at our, they're part of campus ministry, and they'll be part of the different groups on campus because they want to show that they're supportive of students as they explore all the different parts of their identity, whether that's religion, academic, political. There's a lot of different identity exploration happening in college, and we want to support students through that process.
Bobby?
Yeah, thank you. And I could, of course, echo from Jackie and Ashley, all the opportunities and support systems and task forces and committees and initiatives, student government or whatever, everything going on around creating the most open and welcoming community there is, because there again, that is the very nature of a Catholic community. We really focus a lot here, there again, as I said earlier, about the inherent dignity of the individual person. It's in the peace prayer of St. Francis of Assisi to first seek to understand, then to be understood. So it really focuses on listening and really understanding the path, the walk of someone else. And we really do focus here on solidarity and reconciliation. Solidarity focusing on our sameness, our oneness as one human race, all created by God. And then reconciliation there, a sense of seeking forgiveness from one another, sometimes when we harm one another or offend one another, and oftentimes unintentionally. But it's that open dialogue, it's that conversation, it's the coming together as brothers and sisters in Christ that really does help us to create that community. There again, distinctive of a Catholic educational experience, because that's in our very DNA.
Yeah, I love that idea of shared humanity, because I think that's really a critical foundation to all Catholic institutions, that belief system that it's not about what divides us, it's about what brings us together. And I was reminded when Ashley, you kind of brought politics in a little bit. And I think that in a world where there is a lot of division and there's a lot of camp oriented, I'm going to go to my side, you're going to go to your side, and never the twain shall meet. One of the things I appreciate about Catholic higher education is I think Catholic higher education promotes thoughtful dialogue and promotes the idea that you should enter a space with a sense that you're going to come to a greater understanding of where the other person is, and then find seeds of commonality and not look for difference, but find ways to bring each other together. And so when I talk with students, particularly when students ask me things about like a political science department, you know, sometimes I'll hear, you know, is your political science department going to be, you know, really conservative or really liberal? And I really am very forward in saying that's not our approach. Our approach is to bring all sides to the table and teach our students how to look closely and critically at the issues, learn how to have a constructive dialogue about those issues, and to approach that dialogue from a desire to come to greater understanding of the world and each other so we can work together to move forward and not to as a means for division. And in today's world, I think we need that so desperately. And I am making an assumption here, but I assume that you have similar conversations on your campuses. Ashley, I know you're a campus that has a political center on campus, so I imagine that's got to be part of the conversation there.
Yes, St. Anselm is pretty unique in New Hampshire. The New Hampshire Institute of Politics is actually on our campus, and we've hosted presidential debates for national news outlets on our campus. So it's definitely a political hub, which I think adds to sort of like the richness of our community makeup. And we call ourselves a bipartisan campus, and we really are. And I think part of that really relates back to our foundation as a Benedictine Catholic college, that we want to welcome different viewpoints. We have conservative people come to campus, liberal people come to campus. We have a debate, a governor's race debate for the lesser known candidates on campus from random political spectrum viewpoints. And so I think that just really is part of the makeup of campus. And, you know, I think our students are engaged in these debates in the classroom, but they also see it happening in an intellectual, respectful way outside of the classroom as well through the Institute of Politics. So while we obviously are kind of magnified in how politics relates on our campus, that's probably why I mentioned it, because it's so big on campus. I think that's reflective generally of Catholic education, that we want to be welcoming to different viewpoints. We want students to challenge, you know, the viewpoints they come to college with. We want them to challenge those viewpoints and assess for themselves kind of where they fall and what their varying identities are, as I mentioned before. So thank you, Jim, for the shout out to that. But I agree with everything that's been said.
Bobby?
Yeah, you know, obviously our topic for tonight, why choose a Catholic college, and it's in the name Catholic. You know, God is not political because God is outside of politics. He's outside of government. You know, Jesus said, render to Caesar that which is Caesar's, right? So certainly we understand the importance of the magnitude of government and law and how necessary it is to maintain a good and just society. That's important, but it's also important to recognize that our spirituality, while it does interplay with our political viewpoints, at the end of the day, there's something greater than a political party in government and law. That's God's law. So, you know, we do use this to help us be informed and active citizens, absolutely, but always coming from a higher sense of truth and beauty and goodness.
Jackie?
Sure. I don't know that I have anything more to add to what was already been said, but you know, there's many ways in which, and Ashley mentioned this too, the different people that you bring to your campus. So one of the things that Viterbo does is we have a common read for all of our first year students, and we've always been able to invite different authors of that common read to come and speak to us campus-wide for our first lecture. And so these common reads are very much designed to come from many different viewpoints. And we are an educational setting. It is important when you go to college to know that you are hearing and seeing different viewpoints and challenging yourself and all of these things. So absolutely. So Viterbo very much falls in line with everything that's been mentioned as well. And that's another perk, of course, for Catholic University.
Well, we're running short on time here. We only have about 5 minutes left. So I just want to remind anyone that is listening to our conversation that if you have a question, now is the time to ask. Use that Q&A box. We'll be happy to answer. But I'll come back to the original topic of tonight, why Catholic college? And I'll ask each of our panelists, if you were, in an elevator and had your, 90 seconds to answer the question, why should I consider a Catholic college? What would you say? Ashley, I'll start with you.
I would first start with the community. And I know that every college you go to and visit is going to say that they have a strong community, but it just feels different on these campuses. Students are genuinely happy to be part of these communities. I think I didn't go to St. Anselm, but walking around, it's like I've never been in a place where students actually say hello, walking on the sidewalks around campus. I think people are genuinely happy. And it's just special to be part of a place where everyone is supporting each other through their time on campus and wanting to make sure everyone finds success in whatever path that they're kind of choosing as they move forward through their lives. And I really do think that the focus on the liberal arts makes really well-rounded people, regardless of whether you want to go into philosophy or accounting or biology. You end up finding you end up approaching the world differently when you graduate. And I think that makes you a successful person in terms of like your career path and all that. But I just think it makes you a successful member of society and makes you an engaged member of our democracy, of our communities. And I think that's really important. So I would definitely highlight the community and then highlight the engagement that comes with that.
Jackie.
Yes, agreed to everything that Ashley just said. I guess I would just add to that. I find that having gone to a Catholic university and also seeing the students that now I've worked with that have graduated and seeing what they're doing in their lives now, I'm seeing students that are happier because they had a place that helped them grow and build confidence, and also look at everything they're doing in life in a bigger way that extended beyond themselves. And at the heart of the heart of an education from a Catholic university, I think that would be the main reason why I would choose a Catholic college.
Bobby?
Again, yes, I have to echo and agree with my peers here. But this stage for most of us, when we're dealing with traditional age college students, there's some really big questions you're seeking answers for, and that's who am I, why am I, and why does that ultimately matter? And there is an answer to each of those questions. And when you choose a Catholic institution, you have a community and an environment that is specifically designed to help you find those answers and to discover there again, your sense of purpose and fulfillment in life. And it's not always through your academic degree, and it's not always through your job and your means of income. That's all part of it. But I think Jackie had mentioned, it is about a greater sense of self and your connectedness to the world and ultimately to God and his unique design and intention for your life. So something that is really touching, it is transformational. You're not just going through the motions. If that were the case, the graduation degree that you receive at the end would just be a receipt saying thank you for your purchase. And that's not what this is about at all. So this is about a transformation and self-discovery, not only for yourself, but for a world in need.
I absolutely agree with everything that each of you has said. And I think I'll just add to it that the world that we face has many challenges to it. And I think this generation of students is really focused on solving the world's problems. And really, there's no better place to begin to learn about and learn how to address the challenges facing the human condition than a Catholic institution that is so naturally focused on working to improve humanity, to improve the human condition. And also, I think, Bobby, you hit the nail on the head in terms of having a transformational experience. I think Catholic institutions are uniquely situated to help students really discover and ultimately be able to become their best selves, because that's really what higher education should be. It should be this 4-year experience where you have an opportunity to learn, to come to greater understanding, to be introspective, to interact with others, to find the solutions to the big questions, and at the end of that, really become your best self and be ready to go out and make your mark on the world. So thank you to everyone who's been listening tonight, or that may be listening to this recording. And we're at the end of our 45 minutes, but I appreciate all of our panelists, Ashley, Bobby, Jackie. Thanks so much. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you all so much for sharing that great information during your panel. We are at the end of this presentation. Once this information closes out, you will have a chance to answer a 5-question survey. We appreciate any feedback that you're able to offer us. Want to also encourage you to check out the additional panels that are going to be happening this evening. A recording will be available at strivescan.com/NCCAA. Thank you all so much. Thank you to our panelists and thank you to our attendees. Have a great evening.